And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Shelley, can we start with the roll call?
Absolutely. Commissioner Dixon,
Here.
Commissioner Krushat,
Here.
Commissioner Walker,
Here.
Vice Chair Pahana.
Here.
Let the record show that Chair Mendoza has an excused absence.
Thank you. These proceedings may be viewed on demand at the City of 29 Palms website at www.29palms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going on the city website and clicking on the meeting agendas link. Public comments. This is the time for public to address the Planning Commission on issues within the jurisdiction of the Commission that are not on this agenda. All comments that are directed to the chair of the Commission and shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during their comments. There is a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out name and address slips and give them to the Planning Commission Secretary. The Planning Commission is prohibited by the Brown Act, state law, from taking action or discussing at length items not included on the printed agenda. Public comments on specific agenda items will be deferred until consideration of the item on the agenda. I do not have any requests to speak from the public at this time, so let's talk about any commission comments or reports of meetings attended. Max?
I haven't attended any meetings.
Thank you. Jason?
I have not attended any meetings as well.
Thank you. Mr. Jim?
I have not attended any meetings.
Nor have I, and I apologize I missed the last one, but you guys did a great job, so I appreciate that. Moving on to the consent calendar, we have approval for the Planning Commission meetings of July 7th. Did we have any questions, comments, further discussion, motion?
I make a motion, we approve minutes as read.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Dixon,
Aye.
Commissioner Krushat,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker,
Aye.
Vice Chair Pahana,
Aye.
4-0 approved.
Thank you. All right, going on to public hearings, we have adoption of SB 743 Vehicle Mile Traveled Policy Guidance, and we'll turn it over to Community Development Director Travis.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair and members of the Commission. I won't go through the entire PowerPoint again because we had a study session unless anybody needs a refresher. I'm seeing no. Okay. No. I'll just get that right straight to the heart of the matter here. As you all know, this is a new state mandate, essentially, that replaces how we perform traffic studies within the city, and particularly within CEQA. So any project that is large enough to require traffic study would use this method, vehicle miles traveled, versus the old method that we used to use, level of service. We'll say that there will still be instances where a development is proposed along Route 62, which you all know is owned and operated by Caltrans, and Caltrans still may require a level of service type of study, particularly around signalized intersections. So in some cases, an applicant may end up having to do both. But certainly for those developments on city roads, the intent is just to use vehicle miles traveled unless the city engineer comes up with a good reason for taking another look at level service. So I'll skip all of this benefits of VMT and what it does and goes straight to what our criteria defines. We do have several screening criteria. In other words, projects would be screened out from having to do a traffic study based on VMT altogether. And this follows state guidance as well. So that would be those projects falling within a half mile of a transit center, i.e. our bus transfer center on Adobe Road. Where new residential or office is going into a low VMT areas, there are actually maps in the city created by SBCTA that define those. Local serving retail, that's 50,000 square feet. We included also schools, daycare, student housing, although we don't have any of that, that's allowed within the state, so we'll put it in there. Local serving hotels, public institutions, and affordable housing. So those are all the things that we are adding to our screening out criteria, and projects that generate less than 110 trips per day. In discussing this last one with our city engineer, he advised to bump it up to 250 trips per day. Pushing the envelope a little bit, but we think it's warranted given our rural location here within the city. So where the actual resolution and the guidance has that defined as 250 trips per day. The real big thing here is defining the threshold that we want to use. The top one is the state guidance of 15% below threshold. That's just really too difficult to do in a rural area where there is a lack of mass transit and alternative transportation to move people about. So that is just too difficult to meet, so we discounted that one. And then there are these two others that the county is looking at. Again, no, too difficult to meet. So then we were left with option 3 and 4. Option 3, better than general plan build out, or option 4, better than existing. Either one of these would probably work within the city as far as a threshold, but we chose to use option 3, better than general plan build out. And the reason for that is our general plan was kind of optimistic in our growth projections, which have not occurred. And we felt this was easier and, quite frankly, a better threshold to meet for most of our applicants. The last thing I wanted to just point out was mitigation measures. So there may be a rare instance where we would have a development that still could not meet the thresholds that are defined. I think this case would be very rare, but in those cases, CEQA usually requires mitigation measures when there's a potential impact. So we've come up with this list of mitigation measures to include in developments, such as incorporating road improvements, sidewalks, bike paths within the development or nearby around the development, incorporating new bus stop into development. Our planned O'Reillys will be doing that, although they would not be required to do mitigation measures. They're just incorporating it given the city's and MBTA's request. Incorporate van pools to serve development. Again, we're talking about a really large development scenario here, and contributions to fund sidewalks, bike paths, et cetera. So with that, those are really kind of the key points that are in that attachment document. And so we would recommend, that you recommend to the City Council the adoption of the policy guidance and thresholds of significance to implement SB 743. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
If anybody has any questions for Travis, if not, I'll open the public hearing. All right. Having no requests for this to speak, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, bring it up to us. Any further discussion? Anybody have any questions, like to make a motion?
I would like to make the motion that we adoption of SB 743, vehicle mile travel policy guidance that to be sent forward to the council, right?
That's correct.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote?
Commissioner Dixon?
Aye.
Commissioner Krushat?
Aye.
Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Vice Chair Bahana?
Aye.
4-0 approved.
Thank you for that. And let's see, do we have any discussions or potential action items? Nope. Travis, let's have some community development director updates. This is our favorite part.
Your favorite part.
It's our
Mine
favorite
too.
part.
I will keep it short this time. My list is actually one page. Project Phoenix, you're probably wondering why there's no activity. We're waiting on Frontier to submit the purchase order to Edison. As you will recall, the overhead utilities are going into what we call a combined trench. So the electric and the telecoms, that's both Frontier and Spectrum. Sorry, they're also part of Charter Communications. They're all going into the same trench for the most part.
Okay.
In order for Edison to proceed, they have to receive a purchase order from each one of those two telecom utilities to get their contractor to start. And their contractor is on board, they're ready. They just need the green light from Edison, and we're still waiting on Frontier. So hopefully we'll get that soon, and that construction will begin probably at this point at the beginning of August. Also wanted to mention, as far as the status of the buildings, the structures, the public buildings on the site, we are wrapping up what we call design development, and then we'll move into the next phase of construction documents. We are pausing a little bit after design development just to do another estimate, cost estimate of the project, see if we're still on target now that we've chosen things like paint colors and floor tiles and bathroom fixtures. Just to make sure, again, we're still within the budget. But hopefully that will proceed soon, and again, the plan is to still bid this out late fall, early winter. We'll, at the next meeting, August 4th, be bringing to you the new O'Reilly's Auto Parts store. We did get the comments back from Caltrans. There weren't any real comments that required any major changes to the site plan. In fact, there were no real comments at all. So that will come before you. We're finalizing the conditions of approval, and we've been discussing those with the applicant. They're okay with those. And so we'll be bringing that package to you for approval, site plan and design approval at the next meeting. I was not planning to have the second meeting in August, but we did get a vacation home rental appeal. And we are required to hold those within 30 days after the advertising date. So we will have a second meeting in August, probably another very short one. And then some exciting news. A new project I wanted to bring up to you is Pioneer Park. And you'll recall that Pioneer Park has always been on our long-range plan to develop that out as a park, a third park, major park within the city. It's in our general plan. It's in our Parks Master Plan. We learned last week, late last week, that the fourth and final round of the Prop 68, that's the Parks and Recreation Bond, has started. And applications are due December 14th. So they have this time $395 million in this round to award. That is more than the last one. You will recall we were not successful with Knott Sky Park. We're getting a debrief on that, but right now the plan is to go full steam in producing the application for Pioneer Park. You will recall part of the centerpiece of the park is Theater 29 renovation and expansion, which the bond will pay for part of that, most of that. But the idea is to build a new park, around that. So we've got a lot of work to do in a very short amount of time. Luckily, council has already approved our consultants for the project. Mithun will be assisting us. Mithun did the design for the theater expansion. And then Terra Nova will be our environmental consultant. Because most of this is undeveloped land, we will have to go through the CEQA process on this as well. We do not have to have CEQA completed by the time the application is submitted, but we wanted to get it underway and learn of any site constraints that we would need to avoid in developing the plan. So we're actually going to be participating, staff is participating in a workshop tomorrow to go over the grant. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot like the last one, but there may be some changes. One of the major ones, I guess, is how do you do public engagement in the era of COVID? So we're looking for very creative ideas from both the state and also our consultant to get that done. I think we did fairly well on the last one, not Sky Park, but you'll recall most of those were in-person
In-person.
meetings, and some of you guys did attend. So we will probably look to do more virtual type of meetings and virtual suggestions. And I think one thing we also want to do a little differently in this pursuit is reach out to the children more. We did a lot with, you know, the adult leaders of the different sports leagues and then a lot of the neighboring community residents. But I think our application will be stronger if we get more input directly from the children. So stay tuned. You'll all be invited to the public participation. We will bring a concept plan to you before it's submitted to council. It's really a concept plan, not a full site plan approval at this point. But once everything's kind of laid out and designed, to have you all take a look at that. But we want your participation during the community outreach and engagement steps, so we get your feedback, so there aren't any big surprises when the plan does come to you. So anyway, that's the big news. Our next week, our consultant on the project will be sharing their ideas on how we do community engagement, and then we'll be vetting those through the city and the community. We're also going to heavily rely on our resources in Parks and Recreation to also assist us with this application, and hopefully we'll pull together a winning application this time.
I believe in you, Travis. I believe in you and the team. Thank you for your updates. Do you guys have any questions for Travis?
Mr. Clark, the Knott's Park proposal, when do we get a brief back on why ours wasn't selected?
Wednesday. It's gonna be
Wednesday, okay, so that'll
Wednesday.
give us time to take and incorporate
Yeah.
anything we have to into the new proposal, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And it was supposed to happen before that, but with Mr. Council's retirement, things kind of got, and then COVID hitting, things got a little delayed, and it was never rescheduled, and so I was able to get that rescheduled for next week.
Any other questions? No? Okay, so study sessions, we do not have any. Anybody have anything else they'd like to share? If not,